and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Mark, one of them, one of the many. We also got joining me, Christian. Yo, yo, yo.
Hey. Ho, ho, ho.
For those on the live stream, what do we call you with this facial hair? Like, it's not Christian anymore. You've evolved like a Pokemon into a new, more glorious form. Kristoff, maybe.
Let the listeners decide.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good
okay.
idea. Never get the internet to decide anything.
You're opening yourself to a world of trouble.
Yeah. We also got Nemo joining us. Hey, how's it going?
What's that about lore crimes? I need to find myself a more original opening. Maybe I'll just torment Christian.
Yeah, fuck. I hate doing podcast openings, man. Like, it takes like 2 minutes to get going. And you're just like, here's an intro to a guy. I don't even know Nemo's name, but I'll intro him in. Hell of a guy, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Nemo.
Yeah, you don't even know who I am. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, glad to have you. Today we're doing some more Astartes Armoury. This time we're doing the Dreadnoughts, and we've kind of been doing that armor theme where it's what you wear, you know. And in this case, the armor wears you, I think, as opposed to you wearing the armor. But hey, we'll get into Dreadnoughts today. It's gonna be fun. I haven't decided fully if when I die I should go into Dreadnought Lorehammer form, where I just combat all the false Lorehammer or all the false 40k information, or if I go into the servitor form where I just babble nonstop. But we'll decide.
One is a little more honorable than the other, yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy either way. However, I can serve the Emperor. Hook me up. But
Marcus, what was worse, the Lord Boys heresy or the Horus heresy? You decide.
You decide. Yeah, both are less than ideal. Any type of heresy is just it bums me out sometimes, you know. Whatever. That's neither here nor there. We're Dreadnoughts today. But before we get into Dreadnoughts, come join the Discord server. There's links in the description below, and there's links if you message me on Facebook. And it's a fun time on Discord. You can come hang out. People live stream different video games that they're playing. Sometimes you can go pop in, see some cool video game. I was watching Eternal Horizon, I think it was the second one earlier today, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, come join the Discord.
Great. And if you want to support the show, as always, join the Imperial Tithe. You can get an ad-free version of the show for only $2.50, or the video version for $5, and bear witness to my glorious facial hair. For people who are just listening, you ever heard of a character called Rogel Dorn? I did promise the listeners, I think a long time ago, that I was going to do this again. So I am fulfilling that obligation.
Yeah. Well, man, I think you did it just right because you waited and it's so long and so greasy and I can't stop looking.
I think it's glorious.
I live every day like this. Yeah.
I just wish you weren't wearing a shirt. So like there's a little more like visual separation between the neck and the beard there.
Beard line. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be the wife beater podcast before the end of the day, I think.
We'd have to be able to seduce women to get wives to beat them. So thankfully they're safe that way. Well, we can dive into Dreadnoughts, I suppose. This episode I'm going to be covering all types of fun things. The history of them, from their pilots, their armament, I don't know, different types of Dreadnoughts. I'd never heard of the Proto-Dreadnought until today. We'll get into that. There's a couple I'd never heard of, and I didn't really include them. They were so old. They were like from Rogue Trader Edition. So if you don't hear us talking about the Furibundus Dreadnought, that's why. It's pretty.
That's my favorite Dreadnought.
Well, you know what? Before we put you fortunate sons into Dreadnoughts, we have a Patreon for you to get into first and give us your lifeblood. Instead of cycling your fluids through the machine spirit of your Dreadnought, you should give us your money at Patreon. It comes with a live chat room for the show, and it comes with a guest call-in. We've got this very unique character, this Lagnos69. I bet you he's a terrible artist. And because he appreciates my PFP for this run.
Yeah, I guess if he thinks that's art, he's probably,
Yeah, he's only
got touched, for sure. All right. Yeah, what is that of even?
It's obviously an ultramarine.
Obviously, of course, yes.
Obviously.
Sorry, it's just my screen so shrunk down. Of course, if I enlarged, I would have got that. Yeah, it's clear.
But you know, it was an Avatar Navi.
Lagnos did me a solid. Like, I couldn't find the asset that I would normally put on that pedestal enthroned. So, as a professional artist, he threw something together, and He didn't think
Looks
I'd
great.
use it because he's very insecure about his drawings, but I did.
That is
Cool. Well, yeah, let's dive in. See where this episode takes
all
us.
right. Astartes Armoury, Dreadnoughts. A dreadnought is an ancient cybernetic war engine of towering intermediate scale, maintained by the chapters of the Adeptus Astartes as living relics and engines of heavy infantry annihilation. The most commonly awakened form in the 41st millennium is the venerated Castaferum pattern dreadnought, a design as old as the Imperium itself. Even the transhuman sons of the Emperor are not immortal, though imperial myth claims otherwise. When such giants fall, yet refuse to die, they are reborn as dreadnoughts, monumental embodiments of war that advance with seismic, unyielding strides, their wrath proclaimed in thunder and flame from the heavy weapons sanctified upon their adamantium frames. They are foes of dreadful renown, wielding the battle-hardened skill and fury of an Astartes, magnified by the resilience and firepower of a walking fortress. To the unaugmented eye, dreadnoughts are often mistaken for colossal suits of armor or mindless machines, yet they are neither. They are sacred unions of armored walker and cyborganic reliquary, their entombed occupants bound directly into the machine's spirit by absolute neural communion. The warrior within does not pilot the dreadnought, he becomes it, sealed forever within the ceramite shell until final destruction grants release.
I love that line of like, to the unaugmented eye, the dreadnoughts often are mistaken as colossal suits of armor or mindless machines. Like I got this picture here where it's just like this hulking slab of metal. It's not subtle at all. It's barely humanoid, and there's like no head. You know what I mean? Like there's eye slits usually on these things. They're very cool looking. Come join and look at or Google yourself some pictures of dreadnoughts. But yeah, they just have such a unique silhouette. Awkward looking as well, but
Yeah.
Especially the Saturnine, which I'm going to shit talk all stream long.
yeah, the Saturnine. There's all types of different ones we'll be getting into. But yeah, they got a very cool shape where like, yeah, the head is kind of down in the shoulder area, you know?
Yeah. When
And
the greatest... Go ahead.
sorry, like there's this one passage from a book I do not recall where there's this one Tau fire warrior who, with his own battle suit, gets the upper hand somehow, heretically, over a Imperial dreadnought. And he actually manages to crack open the sarcophagus, and the Space Marine, for the first time in a very long time, speaks with his own voice, looks with his own eyes, and he's saying, "Kill me." And the fire warrior is sitting there, sickened and terrified that there's an actual person inside the damn thing. He thought he was fighting an AI suit.
Yeah, that's fucked. Yeah. And like I got a picture pulled up. He's not neatly tucked in there on a nice cushiony throne. Yeah, it's like he's like this like shriveled up fetusy thing.
A raisin. Yeah. Yeah, that's that's a cool thing about them is that they're like life support systems and they're pretty brutal. I remember seeing a diorama way back when, I think a Golden Demon entry a long time ago of a Space Marine inside a dreadnought. And yeah, it's just this like mangled, half living corpse thing with all these like wires and things protruding out of it. Like it's quite horrific and grimdark. But yeah, of course you never see that on the outside of it.
That would be a design flaw, you know, if human coffin exposed
Yes.
to the elements.
The soft, squishiest part. Yeah.
You say these things, and then their sisters repent you.
Those are nice.
That's not very 40K of you, Mark. All right. When the greatest of the chapter's heroes are shattered upon the battlefield, their ruined flesh is restored only enough to endure and be interred within an armored cyborganic sarcophagus of immense life-sustaining complexity. Should even the faintest ember of life remain, their sarcophagus is laid reverently into the core of a dreadnought's torso, where death is denied and duty endures. The warrior survives only as a withered remnant of flesh, curled deep within the sarcophagus, the dreadnought serving as both his resurrected body and his eternal tomb. Sustained by arcane systems, The bond between his failing organic form and the machine is total and unbroken for the remainder of his existence. Through a lattice of sacred sensors and neural conduits, he perceives the world and unleashes war once more. The sepulchres that house the chapter's dreadnoughts are holy sanctums, tended with reverence by tech marines who anoint their charges with sacred oils and chant the litanies of preservation. These fallen champions are permitted to sleep through the long Terran centuries, awakened only when the chapter's need is dire beyond measure. Many dreadnoughts are thousands of years old, their memories stretching back into the shadowed epochs of the Imperium. Such ancients, known as venerable dreadnoughts, are revered not only as engines of destruction, but as sages, their counsel sought in matters of war, tradition, and chapter governance. The most ancient of all is Bjorn the Fell-Handed of the Space Wolves, who once fought beside the Primarch Leman Russ himself during the Horus Heresy. Entombed for over 10,000 standard Terran years, Bjorn stands as a living testament to the Imperium's unbroken defiance. When not called to war, dreadnoughts are returned to the chapter's fortress monastery, placed within its chapel to slumber in sacred stasis until the galaxy once again demands their awakening. While they sleep, the armoury sepulchres that contain them are venerated as shrines. Tech Marines continue their daily rites of anointing, and many Space Marines come to stand vigil, offering prayers and honors to the ancient warriors within. For their wisdom, their sacrifice, and their undying strength, dreadnoughts are revered as legends made iron, even in their eternal rest.
Oh yeah, you got to do the daily rites of anointing on those raisin bodies, otherwise they really shrivel.
Yes.
I love these things, man. Like there's a lot of iconic things in 40k, and this is one of them. Just like a chapel in 40k on a spaceship, and it's all gothic, and all these armored warriors are knelt down, and up at the front you got your chaplain. Behind them, there's like 4,000-year-old warrior in a tomb, motionless. And when he finally talks, everyone listens because I guess it's super important to listen to old folks. They know how to kill things,
They've been doing
you
it
may
for
not hear it
1,000 years.
again.
Yeah.
You may not hear it again. Sorry.
The white scars, I think, are the exception. I don't know if they don't use dreadnoughts at all, or it's like a not good fate to be entombed in a dreadnought, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, white scars. There's a few that are kind of like that. Like the Grey Knights as well. They like their warriors to be laid to rest on Titan with the rest of their brothers. They do have dreadnoughts as well, but most of them like to be laid to rest, and especially since they have the Nemesis Dread Knight to kind of counteract that niche role.
Yeah, they fill that role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from the perspective of a dreadnought, the vigil never ends. It continues, it's ongoing, but from the perspective of one Space Marine who might live 200 or 300 years if they're unlucky, maybe 5 or 6 if they're skilled, how much longer if they're legendary?
Yeah.
For them, a dreadnought might be woken up once, and they won't forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've looked at numbers of some of the dreadnoughts before, and with 40k numbers, they can always get a little wonky and stuff. But it seems like there's a large pool of dreadnoughts in each company, at least like 10 to 15 in the Ultramarines of each kind of which means they could have potentially 100 dreadnoughts just kind of sitting waiting. Because, like you said, they might not call them to war for 100 years.
And here's where I whip out the nerd logistics, because there's also the supply status of a chapter. You have to have the mind impulse units on hand to plug into a half-dead Astartes, because that's what's in there. It's not Astartes that are whole of body that get put in a dreadnought. Then you also have to have the spare sarcophagus, which is another unique form of technology that's not common in the Imperium. It's incredibly valuable. And then you have to have spare chassis to plug the sarcophagus into, because in the image you see here on the screen, if you're baller and you have our Patreon running, the image you see here on the screen, that box you see in the very middle, you can unplug that. That's where the Astartes is.
Yeah.
And they will unplug Astartes. There may be circumstances where you have several sarcophagi of various Astartes, and they might take turns if there's not enough suits, or maybe there's a surplus of suits, but not enough sarcophagi ready to be plugged in.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's another fun visual where just like the rattling chains lowering the sarcophagus into the machine, fucking tight, man. I think I'm leaning towards waging war on any lore heretics when I die. That's what we need to put me into Dreadnought form for sure.
I am here to encourage this terrible idea at every opportunity.
Yeah. And like, you know, I think I can live for at least another 40 years. So by then the technology will be there. Um, let's figure out though how Dreadnoughts and 40K came to be. Because I know I can't be the first one. I can't be the first Dreadnought.
Well, the origins of the Dreadnought reach back into the shrouded epochs of the Dark Age of technology, their lineage surviving in divergent and archaic forms upon Mars, among the techno-barbarians warlords of Old Terra, across scattered human dominions during the long nightmare of the Age of Strife. Some of these singular relics endured long enough to march beneath imperial banners during the Great Crusade and the opening years of the Horus Heresy, their armored shells re-sanctified and re-entombed time and again across the passing millennia. Unified beneath the authority of the Imperium, numerous dreadnought patterns once existed, yet it was only their union with the transhuman physiology of the Adeptus Astartes that the machine attained its highest and most terrible perfection. And as an aside here, that's the Mind Impulse unit specifically. By the 41st millennium, the means of their creation has vanished into legend, the knowledge of their forging reduced to sacred rite and dogma. Each surviving dreadnought is revered as an irreplaceable relic of a pure age. Each dreadnought stands as a living testament to the machine god, the ultimate convergence of flesh and iron housing within its adamantine frame, a living sentient warrior. The beings entombed within bear memories that stretch back across thousands of Terran years, serving as walking reliquaries of their chapter's history, traditions, and ancient oaths. Every word heard, every word spoken unforgotten. In the 41st millennium, few dreadnought patterns endure beyond the ubiquitous Castroferum design. While the more advanced Contemptor pattern is a sight of extreme rarity, other ancient forms, such as the Dodero pattern, the Leviathan pattern siege dreadnought, these are rarer still, nearly mythic war machines. Sealed within a chapter's armory, these are awakened only when annihilation looms and desperation overrides all restraint.
Yeah, the pilots in here, just their age, and like I'm thinking about, you know, specifically how much about the chapter they would know and what's important to Space Marines, battle, war. And they probably were wounded in a great battle, you know, and what lessons did they learn from that? Like they're the great warriors that are put in dreadnoughts. Not everyone gets put in one. You have to do something really honorable. So they know these great battles, they can pass on the stories, you know, on top of all the other battles that they've won. Yeah, it's so steeped in like reverence and tradition, these things, and just these are kind of how you maintain like this 10,000 year weird dogma of stagnation and stuff, you know, where you have these super old things that don't really change and are pretty, if not, they kind of get more radically old, you know what I mean? um but yeah, they hold on to the chapter myth, and they to even like maintain them, you don't even know how anymore. Yeah, they're fucking tight.
But like, you know, words. You know, Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Well, you get stuck in one of these, and it's in the canon. It's in the fluff that you lose your grab. You lose your grasp. You lose your sense of time. You're in Groundhog Day mode.
Yeah, and I guess like you get awoken too for very specific things in the same thing.
And it's kind of hard to tell the difference. Like the very first thing that dreadnoughts often do is try to figure out where the hell they are. It's incredibly disorienting, and you're in a box separated from the world, and the sensors of your dreadnought are all you got.
Yeah, and they just like plug you in after 400 years. Tell us, oh great one, the story. Like, oh god,
yeah. I do like that. Yeah, I just woke up. I do like how they do wake them up too, not just for combat, but also for like advice and like non-combat need as well.
Yeah, like
yeah,
that's
like you
just
said,
as important.
right? Exactly. Like, hey, this like issue that might split the chapter just came up. Like we should consult the old ones and see if like in our histories has this ever happened before, this new tactic that's super dangerous, or they can go and ask them for guidance and what to do, which is really cool.
Yeah. And they got like a unique spot in the chapter too, where very rarely do they actually hold any title beyond like Dreadnought Ancient. So they're not captains typically or chapter masters, although those do exist. But
Which
so
are
they
cool
got this.
exceptions too. But
Yeah, cool exceptions. But yeah, so you got this like they don't you don't have to listen to the Dreadnoughts, but you'd be probably smart too.
Well, you could never integrate them in your command structure because you never know when they're going to be awake. If you have a command structure, you got to rely on people being
Yeah.
able to sound off for most battles. But if they're asleep for 9 out of 10 and they only get woken up for the bad ones, you really can't afford them to integrate them that deeply. And yet they're still
God damn
incredibly
those lazy
respected. And if
Astartes.
they give an order, you're going to listen.
Yeah. Love it. So we've mentioned the Castra Ferrum pattern Dreadnought. We'll dive a little bit more into that. That's another great pseudo-Gothic or pseudo-Latin high Gothic name. Castra, I forget what it is, but Ferrum is iron. Castra, I think, is like coffin or something.
Just from my Spanish, it's sounds like encased in in metal, like a casket or a coffin. But I'm just googling the Latin. Means a castrum is a fort or a castle.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The Castor Ferrum pattern Dreadnought is the most common pattern in Dreadnought used by the Astartes in the 41st millennia. The following section details all the information on the Castor Ferrum Dreadnought. So we'll go into their history and stuff and a couple of important things here. The vast majority of dreadnoughts that still walk in service to the Adeptus Astartes adhere to the venerable Castor Ferrum pattern, more commonly encountered in its Martian Mark IV or Mark V incarnations. In form and bearing, the Castor Ferrum stands apart from other dreadnought patterns, the majority of which now exist only in stasis-locked relic entombed within the sealed reliquary vaults of the Space Marine chapters. Fuck, now that's funny when like you yourself become the relic and they lock you up and like you don't even get woken up anymore. And that's the dream now.
What do you mean, Sister of Battle? I'm not that old.
Jeez. It lacks the towering statue of the such hollowed war ancients as the Contemptor pattern Dreadnought, and its armored mass is said to be carried more heavily to the fore than the accursed and ill-fated Lucifer pattern. Fragmentary legends persist that certain Unification-era proto-dreadnoughts could be borne by warriors lacking the Emperor's gene forging, yet the Castor Ferrum may be only mastered by a Space Marine, its machine spirit responsive solely to the transhuman physiology and indomitable psycho-conditioning. Yeah, I bet even like regular humans, just like you hook them into this and your mind would fry. Like even just like trying to understand what the hell has happened to you.
That or just the horror of it. That scene, I don't know if anyone has watched the more recent RoboCop movie when he gets shown his true self, and like, they peel away his body and it's just like his hand and his like lungs and his exposed like veins and nerves, like how mind numbing and like insane that would drive you. Like yeah dude, you're pretty messed up, man. Like,
that's if you're lucky. Like you take this grimdark, you take a step back, and there are models of the caskets of the sarcophagus that they don't just keep a human in there, they use the human as a battery. They burn out their pilots. They're the best dreadnoughts the Imperium has access to, and the sarcophagus and the suit literally consume the user. And they consume the user so thoroughly that there's literally nothing left of the user's remains, as little as that may be. Because when you get put in these things, there ain't much of you left. And you literally get dissolved in the amniotic fluid that you float in.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you turn into like a Malkador dust ghost, when they unplug you. But yeah, okay, no, you just dissolve in this fluid. That's fucking...
You become sludge.
I don't want that one. I want to be eternal serving, I don't want the sludge one.
Well, you're getting the sludge one, Mark.
Damn it.
Well, you're not trying to be any of the heroes, so I think you'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, that's comforting. Ancient and incomplete records indicate that the Cassiferum pattern was conceived to answer the broad spectrum of tactical necessities. It is shaped for relentless frontal assault, a purpose embodied most purely in the ironclad Dreadnought, whose role is the violent breaching of enemy lines. The pattern also excels in the claustrophobic hells of Zone Mortalis warfare, void ship boarding actions, subterranean tunnel conflicts, and the suffocating depths of hive cities. Within such confines, the Cassiferum's lower, broader silhouette allows it to advance through low-ceilinged passages, and the taller Contemptor pattern cannot traverse. Yet the true reason for the Cassiferum continued prevalence, while other patterns fade into near myth, lies in the natures of its inner workings. Where the Contemptor relies on poorly understood automatic arc reactors and arcane helican targeting arrays, the Cassiferum employs more adaptable thermic reactor and systems shared with other Astartes war engines, preserving its function in the age of technology of decay. During the Horus Heresy, many Mark IV Cassiferum dreadnoughts were corrupted and turned against the Imperium. As a consequence, Imperial records note that the majority of Chaos dreadnoughts encountered in the 41st millennium are of the Mark IV type. This legacy of treachery has led some within the Imperium priesthood to whisper that the Mark IV machine spirit is intrinsically flawed. Thus, most chapters now favor the more advanced Mark V Cassiferum chassis when circumstances allow. Those Mark IV dreadnoughts that still serve loyally are heavily warded with purity shields and anti-demonic sigils. The ancient shells bound in faith and ritual to steel them against the ever-present lure of chaos. Yeah, fucking cool, man.
You know, if I was ever appointed War Master in the Imperium and I was told to defeat chaos, the first thing I'd do is scream into a paper bag. Second thing I do is get so ridiculously hammered like you wouldn't believe. But the third thing I do is what the Mechanicus did by accident right here. I would take every standard piece of equipment in the Imperium and I would make it incompatible with old Imperial equipment. Because all the players, they're using the old stuff. They're using the stuff that they had access to in the time of the heresy, and they ain't making too much of their own original parts.
Yeah,
they are relying on rating.
It's this whole iPhone USB shebangle. It's like, fuck. If they go back, they fuck me all, and now I gotta buy 5 new charging cords in my house. So now I gotta search for phones on Kijiji to match my cords. It's a nightmare.
I would answer the Horus Heresy by being Tim Cook.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Let's talk about the pilots themselves. Those who dwell within dreadnoughts are space marines struck down by wounds that would otherwise end even a transhuman life, broken, ruined, and beyond all hope of true recovery. Rather than be granted the mercy of death, the greatest among them are instead owed honor, to continue the Emperor's service long after their mortal span should have ended. The adamantine womb of a dreadnought, the warrior can never emerge, bound to an existence of unending war until final annihilation. Some are so ancient that their memories reach back to the very founding of their chapter and its first campaigns. Thus, they are revered not only as engines of destruction, but as venerable ancestors and living echoes of wars long past. Should a dreadnought fall, its battle brothers will fight with desperate fury to reclaim the shattered shell, that the entombed hero may be returned to the chapter's mausoleum and granted his final, hard-earned rest. All dreadnoughts are equipped with vox grills, through which the warrior within may speak to his kin. The thoughts and emotions of the entered Astartes are translated by the machine's arcane systems into a synthetic voice, bearing only distant resemblance to the sound of his living flesh. At times, the quirks of the machine spirit render these expressions unsettling. Laughter transformed into the cycling growl of autocannon chambers or static-laced distortion. The crackling metallic voice that issues from the iron shell lends all discourse with the dreadnought an air of solemn unease. By ancient custom, each dreadnought bears a scroll inscribed with the name of the hero bound within, and when a new warrior is entombed, the machine itself is reborn under a new and honored name. That's funny, the quirks in their speech, like his laughter.
Yeah.
like rotating his auto cannon.
Yeah, I didn't realize how like heavy the machine spirit was in the Dreadnoughts until this episode. Like with Land Raiders, that's like the kind of common Astartes machine spirit that you go to, but yeah,
Yeah,
so you're locked up in this weird machine. Like you look at yourself and you're like tubed out, and you got this machine spirit calling you names. Like it's,
yes,
I don't
there's an
know.
added dynamic for sure.
Yeah, you got a little eternal buddy in there with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it would be all Dreadnoughts. Like I'm sure some are more normal than others, but yeah, it's a little room for character for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you got two sides to it. Like you're writing and you're building your own Dreadnought. You're building it and you're writing its lore. And you can give it all kinds of really weird and strange quirks. You might lean into the warp. You might lean into the machine spirit. You might lean into the warrior's trauma or any particular obsession, or maybe some tradition from a chapter, or maybe just something they picked up along the way, some more intellectual quirk. Because the thing about Astartes is that they're very strong thinkers. They're incredibly intelligent. You never know what tick they may pick up with that incredible perception. Because
Sure.
Astartes don't perceive things in the way we normal humans do. And then there's the other side of this writing aspect. There's the lore. There is the warp. It will affect things. And if you're a chapter, loyalist or otherwise, that's a little bit warp touched, like the Black Dragons, for example. There's nothing more terrifying than an angry dreadnought. If you thought an angry Astartes with a transmitting dread was something interesting.
Rage and Dreadnought's a different thing. No, but I like it. They got a good solution to the warp touch. It's just every 10 years, slap another purity seal on that bad boy. That should hold that'll fix it. It's like a band-aid, kinda, but slap enough on and maybe it'll go away. Cool.
Within the sarcophagus, the warrior is suspended in a dense, oil-thick amniotic fluid, numbing and bitterly cold. This fluid sustains his ravaged body, filling his lungs with each labored breath. Barbed neural conduits pierce what remains of his flesh, binding his shattered form to the war machine. The entombed Astartes must maintain constant focus upon the Dreadnought systems, for should his concentration falter, his mind may drift back to the agonizing awareness of his broken, mutilated body, sealed within the tomb of iron. That's very much like a body horror thing going on there. Of like, you'd think that like, okay, they're one with the Dreadnought. They've lost all sense of self, like their true self, the shattered body inside. But I guess it's possible for your mind to retreat back to that and remember, like, oh crap, actually, every missing limb hurts, and I'm literally drowning all the time in this amniotic fluid.
Yeah, because I think too, what happens is these coffins are not very big. So let's say you were mortally wounded by just losing like the lower half of your body. I think they still cut your arms off when they put you in there.
They gotta fit you.
They gotta fit you in there. You don't need them anymore. Like it just kind of I've seen a couple now pictures of how they're wiring these in from the front, from the side, and it just like, man, it's tight. It's fucking tight.
And it's not just that. It's like you're chopped to bits. You're in a box. And the original application of the Dreadnought technology, it comes from the Dark Age of technology. This stuff is meant to be a life extension suit. It's meant to take someone who is injured and put them back into being immortal, as humans used to be during the Dark Age of technology, because that's how good medical science was. The purpose of a Dreadnought was to support the life of someone who was so far gone, not even Dark Age of technology stuff could support. Someone who wanted to stick around could be given the opportunity. But now, instead, it's an unwaking purgatory of war. And if you're really lucky, they took the life extension technology and they might have perverted it. They might have perverted it into a battery that consumes the pilot. And now you got quirks made.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah. Like, if you think it's bad enough that the warp might have messed with your unit, your suit, hey, guess what? The pilots from the past, they may have a particular dislike for a particular flavor of tea. And if they see someone drinking it, the ghost memories of a former pilot might have kicked in. These Dreadnought sarcophagi, they have the same mind impulse unit that goes into a Titan. You never know what stays behind, and you never know what carries over.
That's interesting. Like I know what you're saying. Like same one as a Titan. Yeah, like the exact same technology. Like yeah, that's funny. So then how much of that? Yeah, another element there. I like that. Never thought of that.
There's a ghost in that machine, and it
There's
might
some
be more
ghosts.
literal.
Yeah. And then, you know, even that plays into like what the fuck is the machine spirit? Maybe it is just ghosts of, you know, past warriors and stuff. But, you know, it also could be AI. It also could just be nothing, machine programs, algorithms, whatever. But
Oh, I
so
see.
we got three personalities potentially crammed all into this fucking suit. And like I said, it's tight. That's why they got to chop the arms and limbs off. Fit it
Yeah,
all
and
in there.
what if your twin linked autocannon has a machine spirit? Because it's like
Yeah.
you got these servitors and you got these skulls and you got these human brain bits that are in your hardware. Machine spirit might be more literal than you think in some cases.
Yeah, that's Greg.
Yeah, yeah, my gun, his name is Greg. He insists on it. Sometimes his name is Steve, but that's the other side of the twin linked autocannon. They don't get along.
No, they
That's
do
why they
not.
take turns shooting, because they can't agree who shoots first. Yeah, yeah. And that's how you know we're getting into armament. The guns are arguing with each other.
The guns start barking at each other.
This makes me feel sorry for whatever Xenos it chews up. Almost. They deserve it. They also deserve the standard Castiferum pattern Mark IV, maybe Mark V, Dreadnought. It's got that heavy range cannon, heavy ranged weapon. You usually expect to see it in your right arm. The left is bound to a Dreadnought close combat weapon, usually. Most commonly, this takes the form of a massive power fist or power claw, beneath which is mounted either a storm bolter or heavy flamer. In the case of the Mark IV, you'd expect to see it fixed to the flank of the central chassis itself. Although it shares its name with a lesser war gear, the Dreadnought Power Fist bears a little resemblance to the infantry carried weapons of the same designation. And you'll also see this with las cannons. You'll see this with bolters. Like it's the difference between a storm bolter, a regular bolter, a human allowed bolter. Because the bolters, as in Astartes, for example, may carry. That'll be a 70 caliber. The bolters a Sororitas may Sister of Battle may carry. That'll be like a 30, 40, maybe 50 cal bolter. Because it's basically an automatic grenade launcher, and it's got some kick.
Yeah.
It's not a recoilless rifle. It's a gun.
There's some
And
heresy error patterns of 60 millimeter too, that the Astartes used as well. But yeah, it's cool that even like yeah, there's so many different fucking millimeters of bolter.
yeah, you get a storm claw or you get a power claw, for example. You never know how big it gets because there's Titan-sized ones for this too.
Heck yeah.
Uh, and it's not just that. It's like you might find interesting ways to fix equipment. For example, you may have swarm missiles, like Sherman Calliope style, mounted to the back of a suit. And if you want to, on the modeling side, make your suit particularly unique, so long as inside the rules, nobody is saying you can't mount it to the back of your machine.
Sure. Put it wherever you want, I guess. You know, these are firstborn little guys, so you shouldn't even be using them anymore. So mount them however you want.
That's a very dangerous statement. Mount them however you want. There's a very particular community that'll like that one.
Mount them however. You're done.
Unbound by considerations of mass and scale, much like the furry community, these power fists, these immense fists, deliver force far beyond even those wielded by Space Marine Terminators. Like the crude yet devastating power fists and chain fists borne by infantry, Dreadnought's power weaponry are brutally effective against armored targets, reducing steel and ceramite alike to ruin. Combined with the Dreadnought's own prodigious, unaugmented strength, such blows are lethal to all foes. Even warriors clad in the finest artificer armor, including masters of Astartes chapters themselves, cannot withstand such force. Moreover, the Dreadnought's heavy vehicular plating ensures that those who endure the initial onslaught are left helpless, condemned to await their destruction. The ranged armaments carried by Caprifarum dreadnoughts are equally fearsome. These include assault cannons, multi-meltas, twin-linked las cannons, autocannons, heavy bolters, heavy flamers, missile launchers, and plasma cannons. And in some cases, you might find an obscure Volkite blaster if you really want to be very special and you can find rules for it, or you just want that neat thing on your shelf.
Yeah,
There's
maybe a Dark Angel successor. Maybe you can find one of those things in the vaults, you know?
yeah, maybe you give your dreadnought a very, very nice big two-handed sword and you just use the rule set to a very specific melee weapon. There's more than one way to skin this cat. I apologize to anyone like myself who likes cats.
No, it's fine. It's 40k. You can skin the cat in 40k, wear it over your power armor, and it looks tight.
Well, but wouldn't that be, what are they called again? Necrons. Yeah, it's Necron.
The Astral Kitties. A chapter so fierce and playful.
You can wear the cat's pelt, and then you can put the cat in a dreadnought.
Ooh.
I think there's a chapter that's like that. Like they had their chapter master called Pride Leader. I can't think of their name. Like
there's like Celestial Lions is kind of.
That's them. Yes, that's them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Thank you for sharing a brain cell with me. It's the only one I have.
Yeah. I'm hooked up to the 40k, so it's not really my brain. It's the machine spirit that I've kind of tapped into.
It's the God Emperor's control over the servitor's control over the machine spirit's control of the body of the brain cell.
Lipical. My girlfriend won't let me 3D print the cat a dreadnought suit. Fucking. Ain't that always the way with women, eh? They won't let you do anything fun. Fuck.
You know, that's not very tolerant of your belief in the Imperial faith.
Yeah, jeez. That cat wants to serve. Let him serve! Now that's a different variant. The cat variant, I didn't have that in my notes. But there are different variants of the Castaferum. Ultimately, a variant is just how you arm it. So whether it's two close combat weapons, two ranged weapons, sometimes specific armor mounts. So we won't go into any of those. You could talk about all those for a while, but there are a bunch of different variants that you can kind of mount up on this pattern. The Hellfire, the Firewind, the Siege Dreadnought, the Ironclad, the Mortis. All types of different ones. There's also specific marks of the Castaferum pattern. The Mark IV and the Mark V marks are the most commonly encountered, each bearing the weight of long and blood-soaked service. The Mark IV is the older design. Its machine spirit regarded with suspicion due to its history during the Horus Heresy, while the Mark V incorporates systems and reinforced safeguards born to hard lessons learned. As a result, most chapters favor the Mark V when they're able, though both marks continue to serve as ancient entombed engines of relentless war. It is cool that even kind of when you compare the marks of dreadnoughts to the marks of power armor, there are some similarities to how they built it up. You're like, oh, okay, so they kind of figured out how to hide the cables again. And then, oh, okay, so they might have exposed the head on this one, or just kind of those little details that you can kind of pick out between them as the technology. And as they go out into the galaxy and collect more, they kind of just do these little minor tweaks.
Yeah, even things like minor variations of where they mount some of the chassis weapons, either under the fist or on the body. I think the biggest difference, the biggest difference between them that's visually you can tell right away is one has almost like a head on the outside, and then the Mark IV has the head on the outside, and the Mark V is more of a armored plate sarcophagus.
Yeah.
So
that helmet one, do we think that's actually the Space Marine's head, or is that kind of more
I think it's just a robotic component to it. I don't think they would expose. It goes back to the exposing your squishy part.
Yeah.
Granted, this is 40K. Is the head size the right size? I thought it was a little bit bigger.
I think you're right. It is just a touch bigger. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's 40K. It could be either if you really want it to be. I don't know if the lore is settled either way. I think cool factor is that it is the warrior's head, because you could in theory take off his helmet and see his true face, all mangled and stuff. That would be like kind of cool. But at the same time, you know, would that make sense? Especially if you have to like be on life support and breathing your amniotic fluid or whatever. So
I don't really see it as surprising, honestly, because you get the MIUs, the Mind Impulse units, and that's basically STC technology. You're not going to do too many changes to it because it's sacred. You're not going to do too many changes to it because too many technologies depend on it to work one way and work well.
Yeah.
It's like, how many times are you going to really change too much? When you do make a change, even if it is only hiding cables, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to make a difference in a fight.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like if you look at modern cars or just even cars in general, like what do they really change on it? Like, yeah, I know they're improving engines and stuff, but when you get to like thermic reactors, like, you know, you're kind of good at that point. I think you get it. You're good.
So what you're saying is that you and I both share a disgust for Jeeps.
All things really, not just Jeeps, wagons, buggies,
all technology.
carriages even sometimes piss me off.
When I understood the limitations of my flesh, I too became second.
We got Fuzz joining us on the show here. Hey, yo, Fuzz, you got any opinions? Do you think that's the Warrior's head, or is that just kind of like a servitor kind of more camera system?
That is a very good question. Looking at this picture right here, I definitely like the idea that it is the Astartes head. Like you said, you know, so that they're actually able to like look out for what you are, like, you know, look through the cameras on their helmet. That it kind of helps them to maintain some semblance of their life before being entombed in a dreadnought. And I think that could aid in their sanity of being stuck inside this machine.
Oh, you know, the therapy bills don't have to go up then, because they're kind of like, yeah, no, this is fine. Just tuck away my helmet. Okay. Yeah,
I'd buy it.
Yeah, I could go either way for sure. And there's so many different marks of Dreadnought that some look more like, yeah, that looks bigger, and then some look, hey, that's exactly a Mark 7 helmet or whatever. But
yeah, because it doesn't have that front flat sarcophagus plate like some of the other ones do.
Yeah, these Dreadnoughts are made out of Lego, and that's fucking cool.
I've seen those, and I've been wanting to look through. I don't think I have enough of a single color, but like look through and see if I could put together something like this with the extra Lego pieces we have around.
Oh, goddamn.
It's coming. All the IPs that Lego's grabbing up, they've got, you know, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC. They're getting into anime with One Piece. I would not be surprised if in the next few years, especially, we see like a Lego 40K like official thing.
That would bankrupt Games Workshop's models, but it would like skyrocket Lego's stock price. Everyone would shift their tabletop armies over to Lego.
Yeah,
fully destructible environments.
I've seen people use like the old Lego spaceman heads with the blue spaceman helmets on like Ultramarines and stuff. It's very fun.
You got to find conversion parts wherever you can.
Right.
But would it be Would it be proprietary enough for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
All right. Let's get back on the trail again with other Dreadnought patterns. Beyond the Castaferum, ancient Dreadnought patterns such as the Contemptor and Leviathan stand as relics of a more potent age. Their designs dating back to the Great Crusade and preserved only through ritual and reverence. Proto-Dreadnought. The designation Proto-Dreadnought refers to the vast and ancient array of Dreadnought patterns employed by humanity since the shadowed heights of the Dark Age of technology. These early war engines, once capable of being borne even by unaugmented men, endured a countless divergent and archaic forms upon Mars, among the techno-barbarian tyrants of old Terra, and throughout the scattered human dominions of the Age of Strife. With the rise of the Imperium of Man during the Great Crusade of the late 30th millennium, these iron relics were gathered beneath the Emperor's banner and sanctified for renewed purpose. Though many patterns have existed, it was only through their eventual union with the transhuman physiology of the Adeptus Astartes that the grim technology achieved the most relentless and venerable perfection. Do we have any pictures of proto-dreadnoughts? I imagine you could do some cool conversions using like those Sisters of Battle war suits or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like I feel like it would definitely be more exposed,
Mhm.
like the Thunder armor, where it's like, yeah, definitely more mechanically almost. Yeah, this is a cool little conversion, but that's all types of madness.
So you
That's
think a
not
Dreadnought would
related to
be?
this.
So do you think like Dreadnought would be more like when we were talking more about like an exosuit or a walker? So something like Christian, you were saying like what are they called? The Paragon war suits the sisters have, or the Dread Knights, or maybe even something like the Invictus war suit, where it is a Dreadnought chassis, but you have the piloting station for an intact person.
I was thinking like those. What are the punishing? I'm not very familiar with the Sister Battle range. The ones that are like a punishment.
The penitent engines.
Yeah, something more like that, where like you're wired into that bad boy.
Yeah, I could see, because I would go back and forth, because you think of like the older Dreadnoughts, you're going to have to be hardwired in more, but then you also remembering this is like the height of humanity's technological achievement.
Yeah, but during the Age of Strife, they would have like bastardized it, so it could be like very techno barbarian, like like not totally good for you to be wired into that thing.
Okay, so I missed it. Yeah, I missed the Dark Age technology part. So yes, it probably would be them just trying to retrofit whatever they can in the worst ways possible.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I personally treat
this
it
connects
like
directly to your balls.
Oh. So it's chaos Tanashi. I personally treat it like a Death Dread or a Killicam in terms of orc hardware, because it's from an era that's incredibly chaotic, and you have no idea what the human artificer, or artificers plural, might have done to it. And what level of standardization in that chaotic time could you really expect? It would give you, if you're building models, infinite customizability, but it would also give you a standard rule set, because I don't know how many technologies you could reasonably tack onto the sucker.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. Yeah, you could make all types of wild walkers, proto dreadnoughts, and slap all types of this one's piloted by a dire wolf or something cool. Whatever you're into.
Now imagining the Space Wolves having dreadnoughts for their Fenrisian wolves.
For the wolf specifically.
Right.
Well, if memory serves, there's 2 or 3 traitor chapters, not chapters, 2 or 3 traitor legions from pre-heresy that inherited a fair amount of proto-dreadnought history. So you have some opportunities there, especially if you're writing for Chaos, where maybe a single sarcophagus or something like that didn't make it through, but maybe it became the basis for a night house. You never know.
Kind of going in another direction. If you're familiar with the Inquisitor Lord Karamazov, he's rocking what looks almost like a proto dreadnought body. He's not, I don't know how connected he is actually to the machine, but he sits on it like a throne. And it could be a little less gothic horror and more like, yeah, this is my throne that also doubles as a war machine. Something like that.
Yeah, that's a very good proto dread example.
That's incredibly viable, because the Matrix, the head socket in the back with the great big needle that you stick in, 40K has an equivalent of that.
Yeah, so but this one, you sit on this one because
it goes in your butt.
Yeah.
You sit and spin.
Well, you sit on the throne, you can pilot the dread.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose we'll get into Contemptor pattern dreadnoughts then. The Contemptor pattern is an ancient Imperial war machine, a towering cybernetic walker that strode the battlefields of the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, little more than 10,000 Terran years before the present age. Like all true dreadnoughts, it serves as a sacred sarcophagus, a life extension technology for an Astartes so grievously wounded that only entombment by iron, by machine, could preserve this valuable life, one of the few lives that the Imperium might consider valuable, to allow the service and the Emperor to continue beyond mortal limits, so that even beyond death we might serve. Forged in the dawn age of the Imperium of Man, the Contemptor pattern is larger, more potent, and more refined than the standard Dreadnought patterns of the 41st millennium. It formed a core component of the earliest Space Marine legions, raised upon Terra in the 31st millennium to unleash the Great Crusade upon the galaxy. In the current age, such machines are occasionally recovered as priceless fragments of archaeotech and returned to service as often as possible, where they stand as revered reinforcements to modern Space Marine chapters. Once a common sight among the armored hosts of the legionaries Astartes following the Unification Wars, the Contemptor's antiquity is recorded in and as sacred chapter relics, memento mori, in memory of death, and monumental imperial iconography upon worlds such as Necromunda and Loran Alpha. These remnants attest to the pattern's integral role in the earliest Astartes forces forged on Terra and unleashed at the Emperor's command. Mightier than the Dreadnoughts of the later ages, the Contemptor incorporated arcane technologies paralleling those of the ancient Legio Cybernetica. Among these were fabled systems such as the automatic field generator technology, a precursor to the storm shields borne by Terminators, alongside other half-lost secrets of the Dark Age of technology, woven into the machine's sacred architecture. At the height of the Great Crusade, Contemptor Dreadnoughts fought alongside the Mars pattern Mark IV and Mark V Castroferum armor as spearhead engines of the Legiones Astartes. During the Horus Heresy and the brutal wars that followed, including the Great Scouring, they bore a disproportionate share of the fighting and suffered grievous, terrible losses across every theater of war. In the chaotic aftermath of the heresy, the knowledge required to forge and maintain these machines was all but lost. Those that remain in the 41st millennium are among the rarest and most venerated relics of the Imperium, in some cases well beyond 10,000 years old. When they march to war, they stand as living reminders of the Imperial Golden Age, their history, when the Emperor walked among mankind and his enemies trembled before such ancient and overpowering glory. A standard Contemptor pattern Dreadnought is armed with a twin-linked heavy bolter on one arm and a massive Dreadnought close support weapon on the other. You see your storm bolters, your smoke launchers, custom war gear. So you have maybe the traditions of the chapter, and then you also have custom pieces unique to that suit. Heavy flamers, autocannons, plasma, assault cannons, las
More
cannons.
guns, more guns, all the guns, every gun.
And they fight and they fight and they fight and they fight. Just guns. Guns from beginning, guns till end.
Yeah.
It's very Imperial Guard in some ways. It feels very artillery. The Contemptor may further replace its Storm Bolter with a Heavy Flamer, Plasma Bolter. This is where some of the custom technology I might have mentioned before comes up. You might see Graviton guns. You might see Volkite. You might see very unique flamers. You might see searchlight systems, cyclone missile launchers. You might, if you really want to get spicy, you might even see one of these things armed with a mini nuke, Fallout style.
You might even see one made out of Lego.
It could be you. It could be me. It could even be. Bonus point to anyone who gets that reference. All contemptor dreadnoughts are protected by advanced automatic shielding, generating a gravitic barrier around the walker through an ancient and potent automatic. All contemptor dreadnoughts are protected by advanced automatic shielding, generating a gravitic barrier around the walker through an ancient and potent automatic power core. This shielding grants exceptional resistance to both ranged and close combat assaults. Through catastrophic damage to the generator, a violent atomic overload may occur, unleashing a devastating explosion that imperils even nearby allies, in a way that some orcs may approve of. Some exceedingly rare contemptor dreadnoughts wield singular weapons, with origins that lie deep in the dark age of technology, such as the Carries Pattern Assault Cannon, believed by techno-arcane savants to be the progenitor of the Terminator Assault Cannon. You may find carapace-mounted plasma blasters, gravity flux weapons like the Graviton gun. The secrets of these devices were ultimately lost among the civil strife of the Adeptus Mechanicus during the Schism of Mars, the dawn of the Horus Heresy, leaving such armaments as lost knowledge, silent testaments to that which is forever entombed in the Imperium's past.
Cool. Yeah, so this is kind of like your, we talk about the Castaferum being the most commonly made. I kind of branched like the three Heresy era ones, the Contemptor, the Derrideo, and the Leviathan, into like, this is kind of like your tactical marine variant where it's pretty flexible. And then you got the Derrideo, which is like your Devastator. And then you kind of got the Leviathan, which is like your assault, this like heavy armored one. So yeah, the Contemptor is very flexible. You can slap on a bunch of different weapons. Its silhouette is so much different than the Castaferum, and it almost looks like it could actually be a war machine. Like it looks like it can move functionally, all that kind of fun stuff. It's got quite a better shape to it.
It definitely looks much more like agile. It's able to, like I said, be more mobile, be more of that like tactical, flexible dreadnought than the other ones.
Yeah, and not just like the Castaferum, which is typically like a fire support one. They are assault ones as well, but yeah.
Yeah, the weapons that these things can have on them just are very, very cool. Like with the Storm Bolter or the the multi-barrel assault cannon. And then some of the pictures also looks like it has like the claws on one hand, but then also has bolters in the palm of its claw hand too.
Fucking yeah.
Just like grabbing your head and then just shooting it off with its palm.
That's when you want it dead, eh? Yeah, this guy's got a good example of that. Fucking cool. It has the atomic shielding, which is generating a gravitic barrier. So that's pretty cool. Like bullets are shooting at it and they just kind of cross this barrier and become heavy and fall to the ground. Is that kind of the concept?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, just like anything that shoots at it, just hits that gravitic barrier and just slams to the ground under just that super jacked up gravity area, and then
like I'm not super sciencey, you boys know that, but like would that affect heat weapons still? Like, because gravity would affect heat waves?
I would say yes. Because
like you'd maybe have to crank that shielding all the way up to kind of notice it. Like it wouldn't be the same effect as like a bullet, but it would still have something, I would imagine.
Oh, I'm just gonna do it quick.
It would yeah, because like temperature changes can affect like boiling points and stuff. So, and that would be affected by pressure, which would be affected by gravity. So
yeah,
interesting.
Just through your curse research, yes, like gravity affects like fire and how a flame moves. So
I suppose
still affect that.
Yeah.
Gravity will affect boiling points. Gravity will affect freezing point. I see it.
Yeah, so it's not just bullets that this is stopping. Like maybe even las cannons and like laser weapons. It's figuring
weapons,
out, figuring out ways to fuck around with it. Very cool.
And imagine like running towards this. Imagine like an orc running towards this dreadnought, trying to just hit it with a weapon, hits that gravity field, and just gets squashed into a pancake.
Yeah, fuck.
Just like its bones break.
Yeah. It's
Like
swinging its arm and it just gets crushed as it breaks or passes that barrier.
yeah, like
Oh,
it's almost its own weapon. It's a passive weapon in and of itself, potentially.
Yeah.
Well, the Dreadnought's made of adamantine, and you only need to distort an incoming attack enough where it won't pierce the armor. So you don't even need to stop the sucker completely.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't think this thing's putting off like a 10-foot bubble of graphitic interference than like
No.
Astartes walking around and start getting fucked around. Like it seems like it's very close to the armor for sure. And like you said there, Nemo, where it's like it's not stopping it completely, it's doing it just 50%, and the adamantium will take care of the rest.
Because I get the feeling that a careful observer may not even notice this field running. Because especially when you look at animations from fan stuff, but also GW, it looks like incoming projectiles are bouncing off the armor, but this field is there. Because when you look at Astartes' power armor, it's not surviving the stuff that these suits survive, but these suits are made out of the same metal. The difference is this field. The biggest difference is this field. Don't get me wrong, thicker armor gives particular advantages. Particular angles give advantages, even though these things look like walking cardboard blocks.
Walking concrete slabs. Perfect. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of cool ways to like come up with shielding. Like this was a cool one. Graphitic shielding. Cool.
All right, well, let's move on to the Dreadnought pattern Dreadnought. For anyone that's played a game like Armored Core or anything like that, Mech Assault, this very much like is in that vein of a big walking set of guns with legs. So, during the age of the Great Crusade and the cataclysm of the Horus Heresy, the Dreadnought pattern Dreadnought served as a dedicated heavy support war tomb, though it retained many of the sacred core systems and machine rights shared with the more assault-focused Contemptor pattern. Initially issued in scarce numbers to the Space Marine legions due to the complexity and rarity of its manufacture, the Dreadnought's grim endurance and overwhelming firepower caused demand for the pattern to surge dramatically once the heresy plunged the Imperium into civil war. Among its most formidable armaments was the twin-linked Anvilus autocannon battery, an ancient and brutal refinement of the autocannon that could shatter armored targets beneath a relentless storm of fire. The Dreadnought's carapace could also bear additional weapons and support systems, including twin-linked heavy bolters or heavy flamers for close-range defense, as well as the advanced Ilos missile launcher, whose venerable and near-forgotten targeting auguries allowed it to hunt and destroy foes independently of the primary weapon systems, even through obscuring terrain. So yeah, this thing is just like stacked with weapons. Like it has its arms are guns, its shoulder pads are more guns. I'm surprised its knees aren't guns.
Well, its stomach is guns instead of having 6-pack abs. It just has 2 heavy bolters tucked in there.
Yeah.
So
Team Fortress.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. It's all guns. I love how this is like one of the few. Well, no, lots of dreadnoughts, I guess, replace the actual arm with the gun, but this one, it's just massive guns there, man. Guns all around.
It seems like like other dreadnoughts, you can replace the arms with guns. It looks like this one, you have to replace the guns with the arms. Like the guns is the standard model.
Yeah. Yeah, they got a couple cool weapon options, like the autocannon suite with those big belt-fed kind of ammo feeds that go into the ammo canisters on the back. Very cool look. But it's also got plasma weapons too, which can be fun to paint if you're into that kind of thing. The plasma doesn't look as fun, I don't think. It has a weirder shape to it somehow.
I wonder if it's because they're like longer, so it just looks longer and skinnier than you're used to a plasma weapon being.
Yeah, maybe. It doesn't look like awful, but like compared to the autocannons, man.
Yeah, the autocannons just look very cool. Anything belt fed just looks very, it just looks good. It just looks very aggressive. You know what's in there.
Death. Yeah. Fucking love it. The next one, we have the Leviathan pattern Siege Dreadnought. So this would kind of be like, you know, in my mind, that assault version, where the Daredeo's the Devastator version. So forged in the scarce numbers during the final turbulent years of the Great Crusade, the Leviathan pattern Siege Dreadnought was conceived in secrecy upon Terra, hidden from the ever watchful gaze of the Mechanicum. Its colossal frame is wrought from hybridized technologies, some drawn from humanity's most ancient and half-forgotten ages. Looming over later Imperial Walker designs, this dread engine is encased in immense armor and endowed with savage might and crafted for siege warfare and armed with brutal close combat and support weapons, capable of tearing apart fortifications, war machines, and living flesh alike, while remaining no less fearsome when bearing the esoteric, short-ranged armaments devised solely for its use. Let me just pull up a picture here, and I'll continue reading. Yeah, this boy's beefy boy. He's got big guns too. Lots of big guns. Like that's like 4 big guns in one gun. But they seem closer range a lot of the time, these guns. We'll get more into it here as we carry on. At the heart of the Leviathan lies an oversized automatic arc reactor, granting it the strength to wield weapons far surpassing those borne by other Dreadnought classes and to sustain reinforced energy fields exceeding even those of the Contemptor. Such power is not without terrible consequence, however, for the Leviathan's arcane systems exert a lethal and unrelenting strain upon the mind of the warrior entombed within. Those few surviving Leviathan siege dreadnoughts are endured in the armories of the Space Marine chapters in the 41st Millennium, are held in the deepest reverence, and awakened only in moments of absolute desperation. Those Astartes bound within these ancient war tombs paid a dire price for such service, surrendering either their lives or their sanity to the relentless will of the machine. Yeah, that's kind of what you were saying there, Nemo, with the suit consuming the warrior.
There's that the many, the unnamed, the expendable, and the guard. And even though you may be an honored Astartes, you may be honored by being put in one of these battle suits. I'm sorry, not battle suits. We're not Tau. You may be honored by being put into one of these dreadnoughts. You're still a human battery.
Still a human battery at the end of the day. Yeah, well, that's nice though. You know, you can always be useful. That's the lesson I'm getting out of this. You think you're having a bad day, you lost a couple fingers on the job site to a circular saw. You know, it could be worse.
Even in death, I still tend to serve.
You gotta still serve. So the last of the kind of crazy dreadnoughts we'll get into for like firstborn stuff, heresy era stuff, not Primaris stuff, is the Saturnine Siege Dreadnought. And this is relatively new, and I'm surprised that we got a Dreadnought version of this.
I was literally going to ask that same question. I don't recall this ever before the release of the most recent Saturnine box set where they released the Saturnine Terminators. Like, I never remember it being mentioned in lore or anything like that. Not to say that it wasn't, but as far as I'm aware, I think it's a new edition.
That's because it wasn't. Saturnine was basically created by the fans, and it basically got Bernstein bared into being made part of the mainstream canon. It originally wasn't canon, but it became more popular, and I think it became more popular than any existing Terminator set, to the point where it was adopted basically against the will of GW, which proves that if you come together as a human blob and pressure GW, you can make them do anything.
Try to avoid coming together with other men as a human blob, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Why would you want to come together with other men?
Are you're talking Saturnine armor though altogether, right? I vaguely recall Saturnine existing before, just not the Terminator or the Dreadnought version.
Yeah, I remember when we were doing Saturnine in a previous episode, Mark, you were talking about it existing in some of the older artwork.
Rogue Trader.
Not necessarily, but not necessarily like talked about a lot in the lore.
Yeah. And you know, the Saturnine in general, it's just weirdness. Like they call it Saturnine Terminator armor, but it's not Terminator armor. It's like a war suit. We kind of went over this in the last few episodes. And I love the Saturnine armor. Like it looks fucking tight. So I'm not trying to shit on it. I just don't think whoever kind of designed it really kind of got some of these more deeper kind of concepts or like what things were. I don't know. Maybe that's just my takeaway.
I will meme on it, and I will go full aggro on it because it basically got memed into the soft and into the crunch.
Yeah. But yeah, we basically end up getting the Saturnine Siege Dreadnought. So
The Saturnine Dreadnought was an ancient and forbidding pattern wrought from the guarded technologies of the Saturn's secretive tech enclaves. It towered even above the Leviathan in stature and was girded with superior thermal diffraction fields, mightier power generators, thicker layers of armor, and a warframe of exceptional resilience. Vast pauldrons housed teleportation synchronizers, and its prodigious armament rendered it a walking engine of annihilation. It was long held that only legionnaires of extraordinary will, discipline, and mental fortitude could endure entombment within a Saturnine. The dark armor persisted that some measure of psychic aptitude was required to unlock the machine's full and terrible potential. In matters of armament, the Saturnine Dreadnought was known to manifest two primary configurations. The Chiron configuration bore a heavy plasma bombard and twin-linked disintegration cannons upon its arms, with twin photonic incinerators mounted in the torso for point defense. The Ophion configuration instead mounted an inversion beamer and graviton pulverizer on its armatures, supported by torso-mounted heavy particle shredders, and its core frame could also house twin concussive resonators. The original Saturnine template was first conceived during the Age of Strife upon Saturn's moon, Phoebe, by banished Mechanicum Tech Cabal, drawing upon forbidden lore of the dark age of technology. This same enclave birthed the Saturnine pattern Terminator armor, later sanctioned for use by the legions of Astartes, following the Phoebian Accord with the Emperor during the Great Crusade. Unlike the Terminator pattern, however, the Saturnine Dreadnought proved too complex, too advanced beyond the prototype stage. This changed only when the Primarch Vulcan of the Salamanders revived the design and mastered its secrets, bringing it into true production. Vulcan shared this hard-won knowledge with the other Space Marine legions, and through his efforts, the Saturnine Dreadnought achieved a wider deployment among the hosts of the Imperium. Yet this dissemination bore a grim cost, for when the Horse Heresy erupted, the Traitor Legions too possessed access to the Saturnine's dread and venerable technology.
Yeah. So this is like the teleporting dread, apparently. I didn't realize it had these teleporter homos in it, but I guess that's kind of the Saturnine vibe
It's the,
part
yeah,
of
it's
it.
the shtick of the Saturnine, because the Terminators also in the pauldrons also have the teleportation stuff.
They had to come up with an
Yeah.
excuse as to what they're hiding in those massive
Right.
pauldrons.
Yeah. They got the Corvus helmet with the elongated nose beak, and they're like, okay, put sensors in there. The shoulder pads. Okay, put stuff in there. They're very practical like that, you know?
Practical, yes.
I will die on this hill. This is Mary Sue armor. The lore is Mary Sue. They brought in a Primarch for the lore of this armor. And don't get me wrong, I think it looks neat as hell. But fight
Neat
me,
as
I will
hell.
die on this hill. This was never meant to be canon. It doesn't belong in the canon. It got memed into the crunch. It got memed into the fluff. I will die on this hill.
Yeah, I think you're mostly right about that. Like, I don't think it really kind of fits. You know, we already had so many cool like Heresy era ones, and they kind of had that theme going. And they had a similar style, and then yeah, this kind of just got thrown in.
I do kind of like its I like its niche as a teleporting dreadnought, though. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is, but there's nothing saying that you couldn't just kind of slap a little nodule onto any dreadnought in theory, you know? Like,
Have it be
because you could,
a warrior.
yeah, well, and it's technically not even like the suits that really do it. Like, so the way Astartes teleport is they have the teleportarium, and technically you can teleport anything from cargo to people to whatever. Now, the problem is if you do people, they're going to get chewed up in the warp. So you put them in Terminator armor so they can survive that brief second. So it's not like the Terminator armor teleports. Now I know what we're saying with the Saturnine. That's kind of their extra gimmick where they're more reliable and all that. But like you can teleport regular dreadnoughts too, technically.
Yeah, and they are armored enough that they should be fine. Should be.
Yeah,
is the keyword.
As long as you have a big enough room, as long as you can fit in the teleportarium, you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't they or can some Titans teleport also, I think, too.
Somewhat. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Some Titans, I think, either can teleport or like get teleported.
Okay, fucking cool. Yeah, why not? Like, it's just
I mean, yeah, fuck it, like
you got that room big enough, sure, why not, man? Like, I guess even with the Eldar, they have like giant webway portals that can fly craft worlds through it, which I guess that's a little different than teleportation, but man, you can build some big things.
yeah, exactly.
But what surprises me about this armor the most is that it's being presented as something that can teleport. If I feel like wherever the original story for this thing on the teleportation side came from, they didn't understand 40k completely, or the fluff and the crunch had not yet completely decided how teleportarium technology would work yet. That's the other side that I'm willing to play with, because when you look at this stuff, if it's meant to have all this bulk on the shoulders for teleporter technology, maybe they were trying to get at the idea that this would act as a teleportarium beacon, which would have an impact on the fluff and the tabletop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do like its shielding that it talks about too, like its thermal diffraction field. Similar to like the gravity, but it would affect incoming fire in a different way because like heat is going to affect how the air moves, and that's going to affect how like incoming projectiles are going to like impact it and stuff. I might like that a little bit better than the gravity one, just because like it almost sounds like it's actually a little bit more like scientifically grounded, as much as anything in 40k is scientifically grounded.
We're really stretching that term, yeah.
Also, like I do kind of see what you're saying, Nemo, with it like not being necessary, because it does also seem like it fills the same role as like the Leviathan Dreadnoughts, but it can teleport.
Yeah.
It confuses me a bit because this is meant to be like an extra special secret squirrel suit of armor, Dreadnought armor. But in some ways, it doesn't feel that special. It doesn't feel that different. Most Dreadnoughts already have a very unique power field that's meant to deflect or disperse incoming damage. They're already incredibly armored. They're already incredibly outgunned.
They have 2 legs, 2 guns. Yeah, no, they're just kind of like, I get that like they made Saturnine Terminator armor, but then they slapped this in there too, and you just okay, GW, I'll buy it.
They also something just to highlight. I'll still buy it, but I'll be angry. Something else to highlight a little bit too is the it's rumored that there should be some kind of psychic talent to the wearer, which kind of ties with that teleportation going through the warp bit, I think. At least that's how I would understand it anyways. But
okay,
you also have things like librarian dreadnoughts that really go heavy on the psyker part, so like why not just do that? But
sure, yeah,
I digress.
If I could ask you, Christian, would the Astartes entombed in the Dreadnought that you're describing, would it be an untrained one, or would it be more comparable to a librarian? Because I think it would be really, really funny, Imperium or otherwise, so say Chaos, to take a Astartes, entomb them in a Dreadnought, and not have them be correctly trained in psyker nonsense, but have them begin to learn inside their Dreadnought.
Oof, yeah, that's a good way for disaster. They're like raging out already. Control your emotions, Anakin.
Well, we went through that with the Centurion armor as well, and I think there was one of the Terminator armors too. Maybe it was the Saturnine Terminator armor. And I do like that idea that you have to be able to exert almost like emotional control over this machine, or it will take you over.
Yeah,
will dominate you.
Sounds like the machine.
Some people might prefer it. But...
So Dami armor.
Yeah, a Dami mommy armor. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't like the way it's phrased is that there's rumors that the pilot had to have some level of psychic talent in order to access the armor's full capabilities. So that kind of gives them an out that you could be anything from not psychic to a fully trained psyker and anything in between, maybe just a latent psyker or just weak psychic ability. So I think they purposefully kind of blur that line a little bit, whether it's even true at all. Again, they phrase it as rumor. So
exactly, everything. It was like nothing is true, but everything is canon, or like everything is true, nothing is canon, or something like that. Yeah. Which again, it's nice for when you're making up your own stuff.
At the risk of putting a tangent on a tangent, where does the line cross between psychic technology and being good with machine spirits?
I guess for me personally, I just think of it as having a willpower more than a psychic thing. I think the psychic thing is just rumor. It's just a matter of having extreme willpower, and you automatically need that willpower and focus when you're a psyker anyway. So I guess that's how I would slot it in there, is that it's just based off of the fact that like psychers and librarians are already so trained mentally that they are going to be naturally more adept at controlling these armor suits.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so it's not like they're like all of a sudden shooting lightning bolts out of their eyes necessarily of these suits and all that kind of wild stuff. Although there might be some out there that can, but yeah, it's definitely more that like mastering of the willpower. Cool.
All right. So after that, we've got our wonderful venerable dreadnoughts. Those dreadnoughts whose service stretches back through the long millennia are known to their chapters as venerable dreadnoughts, or simply as the ancients. Bearing the weight of countless wars and unbroken duty, these war tombs are even more difficult to destroy than their younger kin, their resilience hardened by age and ritual. Yet the price of such wisdom is steep, for they are often armed with archaic, volatile, and frequently less efficient weapons whose designs belong to a more distant and perilous age. Venerable dreadnoughts place a heavy burden upon a chapter's resources, for their entombed warriors grow ever more difficult to awaken as centuries pass, and their venerable chassis are prone to failure as irreplaceable components decay beyond repair. Much of a master of the forge's labor is devoted to the care and appeasement of those ancient, ever mindful of the silent dread that one day a sarcophagus may refuse to answer the call to war. Yet no chapter would ever contemplate granting the Emperor's peace to its ancients, for they are the living custodians of a chapter's memory and tradition. Within them reside first-hand recollections of battles and oaths that now survive only as fading script within the librarium's moldering tomes. Some of these ancient giants scarcely resemble the standardized Mars pattern Mark V dreadnoughts, their forms bloated and cumbersome, while others loom like exquisitely wrought statues of war, poised to smite the foes of mankind. In the current age, it is all but impossible for most chapters of the Adeptus Astartes to construct new dreadnought chassis from the ground up, as the necessary knowledge and technologies have long since been lost to the Imperium. This truth is starkly illustrated by chapters such as the Iron Hands, who lost the greater part of their dreadnought strength during the drop site massacre upon Isvan V in the Horus Heresy, and were never able to replace them. As a result, venerable dreadnoughts are among the rarest and most precious assets a chapter possesses, for any damage they suffer must be repaired through dwindling stockpiles of ancient components, or by cannibalizing the shells of other extant dreadnoughts of similar pattern and lineage. So, not necessarily like its own pattern, but these are just, these are the most ancient of ancient dreadnoughts that a chapter is going to still have in service or waiting for service.
Yeah, and they're just like so ornate, so inlaid with gold and covered in purity seals and all that. It's fun that like the only way out of the Death Watch or out of the Dreadnought is through battle, essentially. Like, they don't deliver the Emperor's peace, even though they have no problem giving the Emperor's peace to Astartes, but not to these guys. So yeah, you really are entombed and trapped in this, and like they might wake you up for centuries, for millennia, and not even take you to war. And you're like, come on, please. If I get to war, that's my chance to finally be out.
Yeah, or just even I feel like whether or not you like want out, quote unquote, is going to depend on your chapter a little bit too. Because I'm sure there are some that relish the chance to stay in the fight. Like I'm sure the Space Wolf Dreadnoughts are like, yes, let me keep fighting. I don't care how. I want to keep murdering people.
Yeah.
Whereas we know that like the White Scars, like it's both an honor and a curse to be in the Dreadnought there. So I'm sure they would be a little bit more like okay with dying as a Dreadnought and kind of wanting to take that out.
Yeah, like there's so many like Astartes cult cultures of just like what their afterlife might look like, where they're fighting with the emperor, or whatever with their ancestors, or whatever that afterlife that the cult teaches them. Yeah, to kind of withhold them from that might be detrimental to some, but also might be fun for others.
There also is the Black Carapace, where you never know what ability a chapter may have to communicate directly with an Astartes that is incapacitated. There may be still a chance for an Astartes to say, I really don't want this.
I don't want this. No, thank
I don't
you.
want it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll heed that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do less. Yeah, and I do like the little bit of the Dreadnoughts. These venerable Dreadnoughts are the last remaining first-hand accounts of, for some of them when they were legions, or like when the chapter was founded. So they have, like I said, all these rites and stories and memories and rituals that
Look at this guy. He even gets a little bathrobe. He's so venerable.
Oh, is that a Dark Angels one?
Yeah.
He got the green bathrobe on. But yeah, like there's some of these Dreadnoughts, potentially remember being there and fighting with the Emperor on a field of battle. Seeing the Emperor alive and walking.
Yeah.
We
have mentioned we have mentioned Bjorn the Fell-Handed this episode, but only in passing. Like he gets his own episode eventually. But yeah, he wakes up to talk about his time with the Emperor, and the one line he has is he's like, and I think the Emperor liked me. Like he talks about how like I was a good warrior, so I think the Emperor liked me. Actually, it's kind of a fun quote.
I like that a lot. But I'm sure also some of them who have been around that long, like Lupercal mentions that Bjorn seems to hate being still alive. I wonder if some of them hate being around still because they've seen how far the Imperium has fallen. Kind of like Gilliman talks about, just how far the Imperium has fallen from when they started 10,000 years ago on this noble great crusade.
Yeah.
Like what has become of the Emperor's vision that they were trying to bring about.
Yeah. It's awfully depressing. Every 500 years you get pwned up and you're like, okay, give me an update on the universe. And okay, so taxes are up, planets have been destroyed, yada yada.
Galaxy's cut in half.
Cut in half, and they're like, man, every time it just gets worse. Every time I wake up, fuck, these young whippersnappers.
So you want your Dreadnoughts to really want to die.
Or at least go out in a blaze of glory, killing Xenos or demons, doing something they like.
As long as you can salvage the parts afterwards to repair your other Dreadnoughts.
Yeah, okay, yeah, this is true. So there are chapter-specific Dreadnought variants as well. They exist rare and jealously guarded variants bound to the traditions of specific Space Marine chapters. These sacred war engines are not shared freely across the Adeptus Astartes, but are reserved for those brotherhoods whose gene line, rituals, and doctrines shape their creation. Passed down only to successor chapters of the same bloodline, such dreadnoughts are relics of identity as much as instruments of war, ancient frames housing warriors whose oath were sworn long before their entombment, and whose awakening is marked by solemn rites known only to their kin. Among these venerable forms are the Furioso and Death Company dreadnoughts, engines of barely restrained fury unique to the Blood Angels and their successors, as well as the grim Chaplain and Librarian dreadnoughts, where their faith and psychic will endures beyond mortal flesh. The secretive Doomglaive stands as a symbol of relentless discipline and archaic martial doctrine, while the Deathwatch dreadnought embodies the accumulated hatred and hard-won knowledge of countless wars against alien. Each is an entombed legend, awakened only when the need is dire and when the wisdom or wrath of an ancient warrior is required to prosecute the Emperor's war without mercy or end. Yeah, there's all types of different dreadnoughts. The Space Wolves have some crazy dreadnoughts where they make giant axes and shields for them, and it's more like humanoid than mech looking, because they have hands or they're holding weapons as opposed to their arm being the weapon. So all types of fun, unique ones out there.
Yeah, they're less integrated into the body. There could be an advantage to that in that you can change weapons more quickly, too. In theory,
Yeah, like how quick do you need to? I guess.
that is a fair question. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a dreadnought, how fast do you need to drop your axe to pick up a dreadnought-sized storm bolter?
quick, quick,
But
quick.
but it does
you
look
got
cool
me.
as shit.
I was trying to figure her reason, but you know,
Didn't
How
make
angry
the
would the
muster.
Dreadnought be?
I think though, from a rule of cool, honestly, Christian, it would be really sweet to have like a dreadnought with, like, you know, that like action shield, and then it like, you know, the axe gets like knocked away, and it pulls out a dreadnought-sized bolter, and then that like runs out of ammo. Then it just like has the bolter in the palm of its hand, just shoots you with that.
Yeah. Okay.
the Invictus Warsuit has like a sidearm, like Dreadnought size sidearm. So
Yeah.
you could, if you really wanted to.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, I it's cool too to think of like other melee weapons. Like I would definitely like try something with the Dread Knight sword or something. Give that to a
Sure.
Dread Knight. Yeah, change it up with different weapon types.
Yeah, hammer or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
In the
So though.
In the fluff, would older dreadnoughts resist wanting to use other weapons from a point of sanity?
Yeah, like it's like, no, I've been battling demons with this blade for 2,000 years. It's my old faithful, though I don't want this plasma cannon. Yeah, I'm sure they definitely have their preferred, and I wonder how much say they get when they're awoken. Like, what shall we arm you with today, O great one? Or if it's like, oh great one, we have this plasma cannon for you. Your sword was destroyed by the last sarcophagi, brother.
If there's any tech priests even around who know how to switch out the weapons,
I feel like the tech marines that service them probably would for the chapter. And I honest answer is I think when you wake up a dreadnought, you're like, this is what you're going to be going to do, and the dreadnought's like, okay, give me this gun and this gun, or give me my arm and my las cannon, or whatever. I feel like they've been around enough battles that they know what they need for a situation.
Sure.
but then you also get fluff where the dreadnought is waking up and the battle's already started and he's down there. The loadout he's got, he's the loadout he's got.
That's true too. Yeah, it could be a situational thing where like the tech marine has to make the call of, okay, we're fighting, you know, a lot of close range orcs. Give him a storm bolter on one arm and a heavy flamer on the other, and he's gonna go with that.
Yeah. He won't be happy that he doesn't have his favorite power sword with him, but he'll survive. Yeah.
And he will be angry. It will be for his benefit.
It will be for his benefit. So yeah, that's kind of the Astartes side of Dreadnoughts. Like I said, there's some really old, like Rogue Trader era Dreadnoughts we don't need to talk about. And then there's also some new Primaris era bullshit that we won't talk about in this episode either. But the Primaris, they got the updated Dreadnoughts, the Redemptor Dreadnought that is broken down into like the Brutalist and the Basilisk or whatever. And it's Primaris, it's better than everything we have, bloody, bloody, blood. It's even better than Saturnine armor. So
See, I don't think it is, from the little bit I know of the Primaris Dreadnoughts.
Oh, interesting.
Because in one specific way, because if I remember it, like the normal stocky Dreadnoughts, the Astartes inside can last for a very, very long time. And it's from what I read for the Primaris ones, like they kill the Astartes inside like a battery relatively quick, like way faster than the other ones do.
Okay, so there's a couple different ways that these can kind of potentially kill you. Like the Saturnine is definitely different, and this is more of that battery kind of. The Redemptor is more of the battery. Okay.
Yeah, it's like you're much like on a limited time frame. You're on the clock while you're piloting this Dreadnought.
Yeah. Too many people are hogging sarcophagi. You know, the lineups are getting too big at the sarcophagi, and they have to move things along. Yeah, so we'll save those for another time, but we will jump into Chaos Dreadnoughts and kind of carry on with what they get up to.
As with their loyalist kin, the shatters remain. As with their loyalist kin, the shattered remains may be more. Oh, let's try 3 for 3. Let's try 3 for 3.
Yeah, buddy.
As with their loyalist kin, the shattered remains of a mortally wounded yet dread-renowned heretic Astartes are sealed within a cybernetic sarcophagus, layered with archaic life-sustaining technologies. The sepulchral cradle is then immured within the armored bulk of a combat walker, allowing the entombed warrior to command the machine through sluggish, pain-laced neural impulses. Yet where the Adeptus Astartes revere such internment as eternal honor, most Chaos Space Marines regard it as a fate more terrible than death. To be sealed within a dreadnought while steeped in the powers of chaos is to invite unending torment, as warp energies gnaw at the imprisoned mind. In this time, this crucible of madness reshapes the occupant into a ferrum and furnace dreadnought, an ancient, relentless engine of slaughter driven by unquenchable bloodlust. A ferrum and furnace dreadnought of warband may endure centuries of battle, only to be further claimed by a patron god, its rage refined into ritualized savagery. Such is the case with the skull takers of the world eaters, where ferrum and furnace are reduced to berserker dreadnoughts, forever consecrated to the will of Khorne. Far from being honored as venerable keepers of memory, Chaos dreadnoughts are instead bound in chains when not unleashed in war. Millennia of entombment within a freezing sarcophagus, combined with the ceaseless corrosion of chaos, as stripped their reason and restraint. They are hurled into battle as barely controlled relic beasts. The maddened soul within may just as readily turn on its wrath, on its allies, should no foe present itself. It was this cursed unreliability that compelled Abaddon the Despoiler to sanction the creation of the Defiler, seeking to supplant the traitor legion's unstable dreadnoughts. Though their weapons mirror those of Imperial patterns, Chaos dreadnoughts bear no fixed designations. Their forms, endlessly altered by war and corruption, devoid of wisdom or trustworthiness, they are deployed as brutal fire support or shock assault engines, rather than revealed elites. So you'll basically have them pushing these engines of war into some of the hardest combat, not out of respect, but out of need. No one wants to see these suckers get out of control. In ages past, some were further empowered by the sacred marks of the dark gods, but such ancient rites are now rarely practiced among the scattered warbands of the heretic Astartes.
Yeah, cool. Like, I like this little bit where they're not very standardized, and like you might get kit bashes of Casterferum with Contemptor legs, or just however they can kind of rebuild these things. They're even less standardized than they're so kit bashed essentially, and they don't use them very often either because yeah, they just kind of don't really like putting guys in them. No one really wants to go in them.
I wonder if that, like, if chaos makes it easier or harder to incorporate pieces of other kinds of dreadnoughts into what they've got.
Man, I imagine it makes it easier. And I say that because like I would imagine one of the hard things to do is like decoding or like to like program new things, like that kind of stuff. It's not that hard to like wire up a new thing or to figure out, oh, this cog can spin this cog. Like I can figure out that shit. But so my thought is like, but with chaos, they have demons and they're great coders. Apparently, they can just kind of possess or kind of fuse these couple circuits naturally, or do whatever they need to kind of do with these systems. It's like having a machine spirit that has access to like the physical, has access to like physically manipulate itself as opposed to machine spirit.
No, that makes sense because yeah, it's like it's a literal machine spirit being a demon inside the machine, but it's also a machine spirit that answers to one of the dark gods. So it also is being directed by a higher power too. And yeah, I imagine also like the more it's chaos, so the more different pieces of dreadnoughts you have out there, the more chaotic it is, the easier it works with your whole deal.
Yeah, this guy's sweet. That's Dreadnought. They gave him a tail.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that really helped him, the pilot on the inside, personally and stuff.
You know, it's for balance.
It's for balance. Man, some fucking conversions are wild. Like this Leviathan Siege Dreadnought World Eaters guy is just
Oh, that's so cool. Does it have the like rock grinders on the one hand? Is that what it is?
yeah, the rock grinders. On the other hand, it's like chewing up a space marine inside of it. Like fucking
Oh, jeez.
very cool.
I just feel bad for whatever tech bro has to go and wire the sucker up on the chaos side of things, only to have one of these things go on any warp capable ship without a Geller field through the warp. He comes back, look at his wiring, and this is what he finds.
Oh god.
I'm sure even the Dark Mechanicum is not thrilled with having to deal with these things.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so let's move on to Hellbrutes. A Hellbrute is a corrupted echo of the Dreadnought it once was, a blasphemous war tomb that parodies the honored machines of the Adeptus Astartes. It fuses the annihilating firepower of a small battle tank with the shattered consciousness of an entombed warrior driven into relentless madness. Within its armored thorax is imprisoned a living Astartes, the Chaos Space Marine whose mind has been ground down by the unending slaughter of the Long War and reshaped into something feral and hateful. Like their loyalist counterparts, the warriors bound within the Hellbrutes are those who suffered catastrophic wounds upon the battlefield. Their broken bodies are sealed within an amniotic sarcophagus at the heart of the machine, their nervous systems pierced by crude cybernetic grafts and bound through a mind impulse unit to the dread engine that imprisons them. Yet, where loyalists revere internment as an eternal honor, like we said, the traitor legions regard it as a sentence of living damnation, a cruel, mocking immortality imposed by the ruinous powers. They loathe this self-existence, or this half-existence, entombed with a suffocating, lightless womb of iron, robbed of the simple sensation of war, the recoil of a bolter, the taste of blood, the raw immediacy of violence. To a Chaos Space Marine, true death and disillusion within the warp is preferable to endless awareness inside a cold shell of adamantium and cables. Thus, most Hellbrutes descend into complete insanity even before the warp seeps fully into their prison and infuses metal and flesh. It infuses metal and flesh into a single screaming abomination. Over the passing centuries, rage, despair, and madness gnaw endlessly at their minds. Between battles, the sarcophagus is often torn from the chassis and left inert in the dark, the occupant left to stew in silence, hatred, and half-remembered pain. When not at... Right, that sounds so fucking bad.
Yeah, what a shitty timeout.
Yeah. When not at war, the Hellbrute is shackled like a dangerous relic beast, lest some lingering spark of will or madness drive it into uncontrolled slaughter. As a Chaos Warfleet closes upon its prey, the Hellbrute is ritually prepared. Weapons loaded, scourges and crushing fists smeared with fresh blood, its sarcophagus reinstalled within the waiting shell. As it awakens, the fury of the entombed traitor burns ever brighter. Once the warriors of chaos make planetfall, the Hellbrute is unleashed, an ancient raving engine of flesh and steel hurling itself into battle to vent its boundless wrath upon all that stand before it, ally and enemy alike. Yeah, it's not good.
It's not
It's
good.
bad. It's bad to be a Hellbrute. There was one thing that I thought was cool, and I was trying to remember what I was reading.
Oh yeah, that Hellbrute did not skip back day or leg day or arm day. He's needs some pants, so I think it's kind of a weird image I'm looking at.
Yeah, and they're very muscly, they're very sinewy. It really is like the apex of like that melding of flesh and metal into like this chaos abomination.
Yeah.
I remember what it was. It was the line about them robbed of the simple sensations of war. So yeah, like you're there and you want to kill, and all of the chaos gods, I feel like in some way they're not reliant on the sensation of battle, but like some sensation is important to them, especially like a Slaneshi Hellbrute has to just be the worst existence in the world, where you are robbed of all sensation. You don't eat. You can't feel. You can't
Yeah.
really even talk. Probably like it's just gotta be. Your hands can't hold a paintbrush anymore. It's gotta be bad.
Fuck.
You just
Yeah, not good.
But even in that, there is a perfection of torment.
Yeah, I suppose.
yes, there is, but the Hellbrute isn't the one perfecting that torment, though. Would it be magic?
Well, that's how you know it's chaos.
Yeah.
Speaking of Slaneshi Dreadnoughts, let's talk a little bit about Warband-specific Dreadnought variants. Among the Traitor Legions, certain Chaos Warbands field Dreadnoughts so steeped in ritual corruption and patronage that they have become singular relic engines of damnation. Sonic Dreadnoughts of the Emperor's Children are entombed shrines to excess, their sarcophagi fused with the resonant organs and warp amplifiers that unleash reality-shredding waves of sound, the imprisoned warrior driven mad by an eternity of unending sensation. The Thousand Sons, by contrast, revere possession and communion with the warp, giving rise to blasphemies such as the Orison Dreadnought, an ambulatory altar of dark prayer, and the dreaded Mahara Gal of the Wordbearers, a contemptor pattern husk deliberately emptied of its pilot and filled instead with the bound demon, its presence corroding reality and unraveling mortal minds. These warband-specific dreadnoughts are not merely weapons, but ancient, relentless icons of devotion, their armored forms bearing witness to the truth that within chaos, even entombed is not an end, but a deeper damnation.
Yeah, cool. So even everyone's got their own tricks and specialties. I guess the sweet thing about being a Slaneshi Emperor's Children Dreadnought is you can carry so many subwoofers, man. You can just mount so many speakers on your back and have the biggest boom cannon.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Dreadnought sized guitar.
Yes. And you can shred all day long because your fingers are gone and they're only metal now. So
Right, yeah.
shred.
No blisters on your fingers.
Nope.
Let the bass cannon kick it. Let the bass cannon kick it.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And then the Thousand Sons, they have their kind of Orison Dreadnought. That one's pretty cool too. It's kind of more psyker vibed, and I think it has like some more warding and almost like a psychic hood built into it. But I think, don't quote me on that. We'll get to that eventually. Cool. Well, that was this episode on Dreadnoughts. Like, there's so many different types. I think I still do want to be Dreadnoughtized instead of serveritized. I think I would do great in it. The isolation, I love the isolation. Giant cannon guns, why not?
Are you not in a Dreadnought already? How do you know?
That might be. No, it's too real. It's too real. I pinch myself, I feel it. Fuck.
See, I would love the idea of having guns for hands. However, I am a very social person. I would not do well stuck in a sarcophagus.
Yeah,
nothing is stopping you from getting guns for hands even now, though.
It's true. I mean,
okay.
I've got guns and duct tape in the house. I mean, it's true.
Have you seen that? What's that?
Guns and Remote. I have not seen it, but that's what inspired me for that.
It's a weird movie, man.
It looks like something. Yeah, it looks like something I would enjoy, and I appreciate that he's just doing weird shit for fun because he wants to. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so you can do that to your hands.
But Fuzz, what could be more social than gun music with cans?
I guess yeah, I would have to be a noise marine dreadnought so I could go entertain the masses with a giant dreadnought-sized saxophone.
Oh man.
Phenomenal.
Good times with guns fans. Well, that's the episode of Lorehammer. We learned, we laughed. Did anyone fall in love at all? Christian almost got me with that mustache, but not fully.
It looks good, buddy. It looks real good.
I want everyone to have the same facial hair by next episode, so we can all rock it together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it trend.
I'm not gonna lie. I have been tempted to do that for a very long time.
Do it. Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my beard is more socially acceptable.
Become socially acceptable the more people do it. It used to be normal. In Victorian England, it was normal.
They took it from us, those
Yeah.
bastards.
It's still good. I just don't.
And
My,
with this mustache.
my chin has not seen the light of day in over a decade, so I just don't know if it's ready for it.
You know, these strange social faux pas around beards are why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's an episode of Lorehammer. I think the next one we're jumping back into Primarchs. What's the 12th? He's Angron. So start getting angry, start working out, get testosterone pumping. I don't know, maybe drill into your brain, see if you can get kind of some cranial nails going. Because we're gonna be talking Angron and the World Eaters coming up next, so it's gonna be fun. Come check out Lorehammer Listener Lore. Every now and again I release some stuff on there. Just homebrews that people write. You can submit, you can read, whatever. It's a good time. Lorehammer Listener Lore podcast.
Star Wars. Come check out the Star Wars podcast with me and Jordan, where we talk about everything in the Star Wars universe. Everyone's doing their 10-year reviews of the Force Awakens right now. YouTube is covered in them. It's crazy. It's been 10 years, eh?
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm so mad about it. That's crazy.
So here's the thing. I have to get this out right now because we're here. Everyone, they made a claim that like, oh well, the prequels are hated when they first came out. Just give it time, and everyone will love the sequels the same way. No, they don't.
No, they
really,
don't.
really don't. Those things have aged horribly.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Suck it, Disney.
Yeah.
You take your lightsabers and you cram them.
Yeah.
You can get me ranting about Saturnine. I can rant about Star Wars far more aggressively.
Well, save it for the other podcast, but yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll see you all on the next episode. Adios.